Did it, you guys? Project Glitter is finally with my agent. I think this is probably going to be like the once and for all. There might be one more little round of edits after this, but I am so relieved. I finally have this book pretty much done, out of my head. I don't need to worry about this book anymore, and it feels so good. So let me share a little bit about what is going to happen now, what the next stages are, and what it will be like taking this book on sub. G'day guys, my name is Caitlin. I'm a romance writer living in Australia, and I have had a wild ride to get Project Glitter finished. This book technically started in 2019. Funny enough, it started the same week I met my husband. So this book has the oddest timing. I started this as a NaNoWriMo project, and it completely fell to the wayside for years. And once I started Project Sunshine, a different book that actually died on sub, then I realized that I wanted to bring this into that universe that I created for Project Sunshine, into that same world, scrapped what I had initially written for this book, and pretty much just started from the title. Everything had completely changed. The characters, the names, their jobs, the tropes, everything about this book was completely different to what I'd initially envisioned. And I ended up with a story that I am so excited to share. It is nerdy, it is funny, it is quirky, it is sweet, it is spicy. It is all the things I absolutely love in a romance novel. I cannot wait to actually share more of this with you guys, but let me tell you what it is going to be like now that my book is with my agent and we are going to take this on submission soon. So I think this is the final pass of the book. My agent is an editorial agent, so she read through it before, gave me a developmental edit letter. I went and implemented her feedback into it. And some people ask, do you have to take all of that feedback on board? Like if an agent or an editor gives you feedback and you don't quite resonate with it, do you have to take it? No, you don't. Ultimately, it is your book. But remember, they're more of the publishing professional than you are. Yes, you know your story better. You know what you want your story to be. But at the same time, an agent knows how to sell your book. An editor knows how to get readers to read your book somewhat. There is marketing involved, but that's another story. So do seriously consider their feedback more than you would consider somebody who's an alpha or a beta reader. I took all of my agent's feedback on board except for one part, only because there was no way to implement it practically without blowing up the word count. And I didn't want to do that to set up a sort of subplot and minor arc for one small character. And she might come back to me and say, no, this really does need to be implemented. And if that's the case, I'll brainstorm. I might even have to have a quick conversation with her over the phone to figure out, okay, how do I put this into the story properly? Because it's not clicking and it isn't working for me. How and what is the best way to do this? And my agent is wonderful with that. She is a writer herself as well. So she knows what it's like to go through the edits to deal with that process. But other than probably a couple of minor tweaks, if that, I think this book is just about ready to go out on submission. Now, that doesn't mean that it is going to go out right away. My agent does have to put together a pitch package. We might have to polish up the synopsis and the blurb that I sent her as well. So I sent her the manuscript as well as the synopsis for the story and a full blurb, which is basically what you would see kind of on the dust cover jacket of a book. Those might need to be tweaked as well. So we will see what my agent says, but for the most part, this is like 99% at the finish line to get this book out on sub, to get this book in the hands of editors. I'm excited. I am incredibly nervous. I actually saw the list that my agent put together for all the editors that she wants to send this to now that she's read it. To say I'm freaking out is kind of an understatement. Like, there are some really big editors on here. There are some editors who actually read Project Sunshine even though it died on sub. And this book is so much better. It's so much stronger than Project Sunshine. Now, I love Project Sunshine. That was the book that got me my agent. That book is near and dear to my heart. And even though I am making some major overhauls to it, basically calling it an entirely new project, that book still resonated and did so much for me professionally. Because we took it out on sub, I now have this sort of rapport and relationship through my agent with these editors as well. So they know the types of books I write. They know the overall style, the story. And we already have some editors lined up who've read my stuff before that are going out on round 1, potentially round 2. So I don't know the exact date that we're going on sub. I don't know if it's going to even be this summer, given the fact that summer can be incredibly slow for publishing. And I mean painfully slow. Like, there are ebbs and flows in publishing that are so old school, but summer is a very, very slow time in publishing in general. So I don't know the date that my agent is going to take Project Glitter out on sub, but she will keep me updated, she'll keep me posted, and when I have any news or information that I can share with you guys, I will. But yeah, we are ready to put Project Glitter out into the world for editors to see, and I am so excited. I just have a gut feeling about this book, and I am hoping that I'm right by saying that I have a gut feeling. It really is a powerful story while still being a fun, bubbly rom-com with the spice that a lot of spicy romance readers love. There's still so much plot to it. I say that I write spice with heart, but it's also spice with plot. Now, every agent handles how a project goes out on submission differently. The way my agent handles it is she has a sort of ongoing Excel spreadsheet, and I assume that she's going to use the same type of method that she used for Project Sunshine because that works so well, where she says the date that she sent the initial pitch. Now, she doesn't send the full manuscript right away. She sends a pitch to the editors. The editors review the pitch, and if they want to read the full manuscript, they let her know and they request it. Then she puts in the Excel sheet the date that she sent the full or the date that it was rejected, and then she has times that she follows up. And she typically follows up like every month to month and a half for somebody who actually has the full, a little bit more frequently for somebody who just has the pitch and hasn't responded yet. Unfortunately, it's very common now in editing and publishing for people to just ghost you. So there's a high likelihood that at least a handful of editors in round one aren't even going to respond to the pitch. So that's very frustrating, despite the fact that it's very unprofessional. That is another side note. People think it's frustrating querying agents and waiting all that time to respond. It is extremely more frustrating when you're responding to editors from professional publishers who just ghost you. Like, they act like your email just disappeared into the ether and it's never showed up in their inbox. It's very frustrating. But there are a lot of editors who will at least respond to the pitch. Now that Project Glitter is off my hands, what is next as far as writing? And that will be getting into Project Captain, which is book 2 in this sort of little series that I have. I'm also thinking of outlining a completely new series, because hate to put this out in the universe, but if Project Glitter doesn't get picked up, at that point I'm going to feel so defeated with this little world and universe, and I might want to move on to something different, because it means if 2 books in the same world with the same sort of ideas aren't really picking up, there might be an issue with marketability right now, so I would need to pivot to something different. I have a couple series in mind that I absolutely love and think would be so much fun to get into. I had a standalone that a couple of years ago sort of re-sparked my love of writing, and I got back into it through that project, and I might go back to that, consider revising, re-editing. I'll definitely need to do a more fully fledged outline. I'm such a stronger writer now than I was a few years ago, and that is going to involve so much tweaking and so much revision, but could be a lot of fun. I also love Formula One. It would be so much fun to write a Formula One spicy romance. I absolutely love Formula One romances. I think they're so much fun. There's so much room for creativity. I know the sport really well, and I feel like I'm one of those people who knows it well enough that there won't be as many errors. I've read some errors in some books and it drives me nuts. But I feel like I know enough about it that for somebody who really is a hardcore fan, it's not going to be like riddled with errors to the point that it pulls you out of the story. I think there's so much tension that could be involved in a Formula One romance just with the way the sport is. I also have a series that involves lawyers in the back of my head that I'd started a long time ago, and I think could be an interesting little mini trilogy. It's like 3 friends that I have in mind. That could be a fun one to write as well. I'm not entirely sure if that's where my heart is leaning towards at the moment with writing, though. I think that's something that I might come back to and pick up later on down the line. I also have a bizarre little 1-book idea that is quirky and strange but fun, and I'm not a huge billionaire romance girly, but this one would be, and it'll be fun to sort of stretch the muscles and the imagination a little bit to see what could be done there, because when it comes to billionaire romances, I cringe a little bit sometimes because so many of them have to be that sort of alpha male type, and it's so frustrating to read guys like that every single time you pick up a billionaire romance. I know for some people that is like their bread and butter. That is their go-to story. They love a good billionaire romance. It's not always my thing, but it would align with this book. So we'll see. I think I need to sit down and really have a think about where I need to put my energy for the second half of this year. I do know that I do want to finish Project Captain, and if Project Glitter gets picked up, I'll have another project in that same little universe to finish up. I have Project Hear Me Out that I need to finish by the end of this year, and then outline books 2 and 3 for that series. And I want to start something different. I want to start something fun. I want to start something outside of these 2 little universes. And we'll see where that goes and where that takes me, because I'm feeling a little exhausted with the worlds that I've created so far. Doesn't mean that they're not fun, doesn't mean that they're not great stories. I feel like my brain is just firing off in a dozen different directions, and I need to pick a direction and stick with it, and I'm not sure where my energy is best. So yeah, that is it. We are prepping to go on submission soon. I will be in touch and let you guys know how everything goes. Please keep your fingers, your toes, your everything crossed for me, because I am so worried about this book dying on sub. I feel like in my heart I knew Project Sunshine wasn't going to get picked up, but if Project Glitter doesn't get picked up, that is going to crush me, because I feel it in my bones that this is a story that is marketable, that editors would love, that so many readers would enjoy. I just need it to fall in the hands of the right person, at the right publisher, at the right time. So please keep your fingers crossed for me, guys. I would love for in a couple of years for you guys to be able to read Project Glitter. It would mean the absolute world. That's it for this video, you guys. I will see you all in my next one. Bye.